we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, the only place that we give you good vibe. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, all over the world we are shining the light. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night.
Chat Night Africa, Africa's voice to the world. Chat Night, not for Africans only. Hello there, my name is Divine Chamukong. I am anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Thank you for stopping by. If you carry a green card or are a naturalized citizen, please pay attention to what's ahead. Here is why. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. A growing controversy surrounds the question of whether holders of the green card or naturalized citizens can be deported for expressing dissenting political opinions. Critics argue this would violate fundamental rights, while others maintain that national security and the president's agenda must be protected and pursued. Today, we delve into the heart of this contentious issue. Invited to take questions is barrister at law Fatmata Barry, CEO of the Barry Law Center headquartered in Maryland. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our immigration attorney on the platform. Fatmata Barry, thank you for coming to respond to questions bordering on the thorny issues of First Amendment rights and President Trump's pursuit of his immigration and deportation, what he calls shock and awe deportations of illegal immigrants in the United States. Let's get started. A lot of immigrant residents in the United States have never read the 14-page Constitution. What does the First Amendment say, and how is it to be understood?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. So the 14th Amendment, the First Amendment is basic, right? It gives us as people who live in this country, it gives us the freedom to speak, what they call freedom of speech. It gives you freedom to assemble, without censorship of the government. It protects your right to express yourself either verbally or symbolically. If you have something you want to draw, you can do that. If you have something you want to say, you can say it without fear of persecution based on the First Amendment. It also gives the press the right to information and to write and publish information and news. So it provides cover and protection for the press. It prevents the federal government, from getting in the way of your religious freedom. So you have the right to worship any way you wish, or not worship at all if you don't want to. And it on paper prohibits the government from sort of favoring or liking or uplifting one faith over another. So that's basically the U.S. First Amendment, what it does, and it allows you to what they call peacefully assemble, right? So not cause damage or hurt people. You can come together and assemble and speak your truth. That's the First Amendment.
It protects people to peacefully assemble. Is it assembling to write motions of support to the president of the republic, as is usually the case in developing countries? And when you're not doing it, you're in trouble.
When you say assemble to write motions, what do you mean?
Well, in Trump, for example, you're a great guy, you have nice suits, you're a perfect guy, you are the right guy for the White House.
No, you have the right to assemble on any issue that you have. So it could be, I don't like the president, so I'm going to do a rally to say I don't like him, I don't like her. You can do that.
I was asking the question because it leads me to asking whether there are some exclusions or limitations to some free speech, some speech contents, especially, again, those that contradict the president of the United States.
The U.S. Constitution explicitly indicates that your freedom of speech is not contingent on the government liking it or not liking it. Now, there are certain exceptions where if it causes a danger, right? So you walk in a movie theater and you scream, fire, and people scatter, people are trampled, you can get in trouble. You may say that's my freedom of speech, but you just caused a problem. You say you're doing freedom of speech, but you are inciting a riot and you're inciting overthrow of the government. That's beyond freedom of speech. But you do have the freedom to assemble, and you can, based on the U.S. Constitution as it's written for now, you can disagree with the president, with the entire Congress. You can disagree with any governmental person or agency.
Let me make sure that this is clear, crystal clear to everybody. You have a law firm. Can your employees get up and say, well, this is my First Amendment right I'm exercising, and say, oppose you, you are the boss?
Well, again, government. I am a private entity. So if my employee says, I'm not going to do what you want me to do, I can fire them. It's my law firm. It's my practice. However, if I am the president of the United States, which I could never be because I wasn't born here, but if I was the president of the United States and I say, I don't know, I like green cars, and everybody says, we hate green cars, there's nothing I can do about that.
Does everyone in equal measure enjoy free speech protections under the Constitution?
Yes, they do. In short.
Why I'm asking this question is because recently, in the news, which is under litigation, currently a Palestinian green card holder is facing deportation for allegedly voicing support for Hamas, designated by the government of the United States as a terrorist organization. What's implied here by support? Making utterances or supporting materially?
Okay, so I will say this. We don't know yet as to why he was arrested and detained and is in the process of removal. We don't know yet. What we do know is that there are arguments about the possibility that the government could use a part of the law that says that if a foreigner is supporting terrorists or supporting someone, a group that is a danger to the country, or that puts the security of the nation in jeopardy, that the government can remove and deport that person. But to date, you know, all we know is that he has been detained, and they say, he supported Hamas, but there has yet to be any examples of his actual support of Hamas. So we're waiting for that.
And the reason I ask the question, this specific question, is because immigrants who are in the United States come from different parts of the world, and in different parts of the world, there are either armed insurrections or things like that. So, and let me give you an example. Cameroon, there is an armed uprising in Anglophone Cameroon, and so if you were found to be sending material support, organizing a rally to support the insurgents, would that amount to the reason for being deported? And I take Cameroon as an example. It could be Nigeria, it could be any country.
So your question is, if you as a foreigner in the US of A, you are assisting people with to get up in arms against the United States,
against their home government,
against your home country.
Correct.
I can't speak to that, mainly because it all depends on what the U.S. wants to do. So the law you're talking about, as to why Mr. Khalil was held, is a danger to the United States, not a danger to other foreign countries, but whether your act puts the security of the United States in jeopardy. So that is a law that they can use, or law, or process, but it's not really, how do I put it? I keep saying law, but it's not really a law per se, because it's literally the Secretary of State saying, I believe he's a danger and I believe he did this, so therefore we're going to deport him.
That exactly. So why is it such a hot button issue? Is it a problem of First Amendment, or it's a problem related to the security of the United States, or simply because, let's call it for what it is, President Trump doesn't like that part of it?
So it's a hot button topic because of the way it was done. It was basically, he just graduated in December. His wife is 8 months pregnant. They were still living on university property. They showed up at the property. They arrested him. And while they were detaining him, his wife informs them that he's legally in the country. They say his student visa is being revoked. She says he does not have a student visa. He is a permanent resident. And the agent spoke to his attorney and told his attorney that they were revoking his student visa. They told him he's not a student visa recipient. He's a permanent resident. They said, well, they're going to revoke that also. So when he was arrested, it didn't seem as if they knew why he was being detained. All they said was they have been instructed to detain him. So it was an unusual situation of detention, because usually, right, when a person is detained for immigration purposes, there is either a judicial order by a judge that is signed and says why you're being detained and in removal, that you have been found whatever for being here undocumented, without permission, violating your visa, your stay, whatever the case may be, it will be listed in that order to be picked up. In this case, there was nothing that says this is why we're picking you up and this is why we're detaining you. They didn't have that. They couldn't tell that to his 8 months pregnant wife. They couldn't tell that to his attorney. So nobody knew. And they didn't even know his actual status when they came to arrest him. So that's the problem. It's not a case of, oh, you have a green card, but you got the green card by fraud, right? So if there was that type of an order, that's why a judge ordered that he not be removed until he goes through the proper process, which is you go through adjudication, and a judge determines that you're deportable.
If he was an American citizen, would they do the same thing to him?
No, you don't. There's no way to deport an American citizen. Or are you talking about a naturalized citizen?
Naturalized, yeah.
A naturalized citizen. Well, it all depends, right? Because once you're a U.S. citizen, you're a U.S. citizen. You now, unless your U.S. citizenship was received through fraud or some other type of, that would cause revocation of your citizenship. So that has to be revoked before anything else can happen.
And that leads me to this question. Is the green card or naturalized citizenship revocable? And if yes, by whom and in what circumstances?
There are many circumstances.
Give us some examples.
They all can be revoked if depending on what they find out, right? The green card is the easiest thing to revoke because you're not a U.S. citizen. And what they're using right now is an example of an easy way for them to revoke it and remove you by the stroke of a pen of one person, the Secretary of State. But again, the higher standard is there for revocation of U.S. citizenship. And most of the time is due to fraud. Because if you commit any other crime, you would just be sentenced like any other citizen.
This question becomes so critical because we have lots of Africans and other nationals who are, immigrant residents here, permanent residents, and sometimes they get involved in domestic violence, domestic disputes, money laundering, and other criminal activities. Would that qualify for deportation? And if that were to happen, does ICE or do ICE agents just show up, pick you up, go to the airport, and put you on a deportation flight?
So, yes, you can be deported. So what happens is if you're a green card holder and you commit a crime, and that crime carries a sentence of a year or more, when you're done serving your time, you are deportable if they decide to do that. And sometimes the mistake people make is they say, well, I didn't even go to jail. You may not have gone to jail, but if you plead out on a particular offense and the sentence, if you had gone to jail, would have carried a year or more, you are still deportable. It's not about how much time you spent in jail. It's about the sentence of the crime of which you have been found either guilty or you've admitted to or you pled to with the agreement that you will not spend a day in jail. So you can be deported. And yes, ICE can pick you up with a judicial warrant that says this person is deportable because of A, B, C, and D reason. And they can come pick you up. Usually they put you in detention first before you're removed. And once there's a judicial warrant and order saying that you're deportable, then ICE will detain you.
What is confusing for many people is the deportation order established in court by an immigration judge, or you get picked up from a supermarket, detention, deportation flight.
Yeah, so if you're undocumented, they pick you up from wherever, you're not supposed to be here. ICE can take you in front of a judge and they take you out, or they give you something you sign and you leave the country. If the receiving country is going to accept you, that is, because that's another layer.
There are those in the United States who are on the TPS, that's temporary protective status. What are they being protected against?
Deportation.
Or from?
Removal.
So therefore, Therefore, can ICE agents pick them up and put them on a deportation flight?
They don't have an actual status. They're just protected from removal. So if they decide to revoke the TPS, you can pick them up and take them away.
Who
And
revokes it? The Secretary of State, Secretary for Homeland Security, or the President of the United States?
Department of Homeland Security, the president can tell them that needs to go away, and they do their paperwork, and it's gone. It comes from the president down, because don't forget, those are his agencies, the executive branch agencies. So people need to understand that TPS is not a status. It's not an actual status, just a protection. It's just protection from deportation and removal. And it can go away at any time. If at any time this country believes that your nation is good enough to accept all of its citizens, they can end the TPS, just like they just did with Venezuela. It was gone, just like they did with Haiti, where they just stopped it, right? And reduced the time of the TPS. So I tell people, if you have TPS right now and you have a pathway to a green card, take it. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, they need to file for you. If you have a child who's 21 years of age or older, they need to file for you. Do not rest on the TPS. It can disappear at any time, and they can pick you up at any time.
We hear in the news that some of your lawyers are filing an appeal against, or a lawsuit, so to speak, against the revocation of the TPS, which honestly, I'm not a lawyer. I never went to a law school, but it's somewhat surprising to me. Do they have grounds to do that? If the TPS can just go, then what's the lawsuit going to accomplish?
I haven't looked at the complaint. It's for the ACLU, and these are like national organizations that file these. I haven't looked at a complaint. I don't know what their basis for the complaint is. It might just be because of how it was done. It wasn't done with any review process. You come in and you said it's finished. So sometimes the law may not like the process, because there's a process for everything. So if you go to court and says the process is A, B, C, and D, and they didn't follow the process, so then, and it's a harm, because TPS is supposed to be to protect people and from places that they shouldn't be going back to. It's in the books. So we'll see. I haven't looked at a complaint.
You are watching Voices of Africa, and my guest on the show today is barrister at law, immigration attorney Fatmata Barry of the Barry Law Center, headquartered here in Maryland. You have been handling a lot of immigration cases. You've been doing this for a very long time. What are some of the errors, the mistakes that immigrants, whether Africans, Hispanics, or migrants from other countries, what mistakes do they usually do that lead to their losing their cases in court?
I mean, there's a lot. Every case is different, right?
Absolutely.
So it's hard to say, but I would say that violation of what they call moral turpitude. So in other words, drinking and driving, shoplifting, even lying on your application for a loan and they find out, not filing your taxes, right? Those sort of things can impact your ability to get your green card. Having a fraudulent marriage that you could not prove that in fact you got married, and it's what's called a bona fide relationship. So there's a myriad of things that people do on a regular basis. Some you never even heard of, and it's happening until you have the case, and you're like, what?
Lawyer Fatmata, you mentioned one of it that got my attention: drinking and driving, how does that, and why would it impact your legal proceedings in court to acquire a green card, or if you are an asylee or seeking for asylum?
Well, drinking and driving is a crime. So it's a crime. I mean, that's it. It's a crime. I mean, you commit a crime, it could impact your ability to get a green card. Like, keep your nose clean. There's no reason to get into any sort of fight where you end up being charged with something. You don't want that, because sometimes, even if you're not convicted, it causes such a headache for you to have to explain why you've been arrested and gone through fingerprinting and having to go through court and so on and so forth.
Is marrying a U.S. citizen a fast track, or does it fast track you getting a green card?
Mr. Family is the fastest, whether it is a spouse or a child, because they are what you call the first tier of available visas, because they're what they call immediate visas, because it's immediate family members. So they're always better. But again, your marriage should be what's called a bona fide marriage. So that means you're not just doing it for the green card, and you have to prove it. If you can't prove it, then that's where the problem comes in.
Why, in your view, has, since President Trump came to office, has deportation, he calls it deportation shock and awe. What is he doing that Joe Biden wasn't doing?
The only thing he's doing that Joe Biden wasn't doing is that Joe Biden wasn't putting on TV. He didn't have his agents with the camera phones videotaping, arresting people, and then putting it out there in public. Joe Biden didn't come on and do these big speeches. We are getting rid of all the immigrants. We're doing mass deportation. He just went ahead and deported people, like every other administration has ever done. The difference is Joe Biden didn't have his hand on the thing. He didn't ask anybody to deport anybody. You understand? He let the agencies do their thing. He didn't actually have a hand in the thing. Most presidents don't usually have a hand in those, that's why they have heads of departments, and he let them do their job. His difference is that he is feeding his base, because that's what his base wants. I'm not saying that he loves immigrants. That's not what I'm saying. But his base wants this. So he's going to give it to them. And the anti-immigrant sentiment is alive and well. And because it's alive and well, it will keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. That's what he's ran on his entire, 16 years?
Granted, correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. The perception is that Joe Biden / Harris, the team, they were a lot more permissive. They were a little bit too lenient, and so a lot of people were just flooding into the United States. And I think to a certain degree, but it looks like the statistics prove them right.
No.
Okay.
The numbers were actually going down before Trump came into office. Why? Because they were doing it in an orderly fashion. Because the last administration, their goal was to impact the source of the immigration. So they were on the other side, dealing with Mexico and others on the other side, to find ways to detract people from coming through the border. So the numbers were going down. They weren't like dropping sharp, right? Because they weren't doing this scaring people. And it was orderly because they were actually using the CBP-1, which was a way for people to do interviews and make appointments and easily tell people, nope, we can't accept you, go back. What this administration has done is they basically took people who have waited for over a year for an interview and canceled all their interviews. So the way American immigration law works is this. If you have what's called a credible fear, you can enter the United States of America, and while you're here, fight for asylum. You cannot fight for asylum while you're outside of the country. So there's a misconception that people are coming in here illegally, people like to say, but it's not that. Before you come across, you tell whoever, you say, I am in fear of whatever. And so I'm looking for safety. You tell them your story and they say, okay, you might have credible fear. Come on in and give you a chance to prove it. That's what asylum is, right? So people are doing that. And some people are coming in without what they say without inspection, meaning you don't have a visa for you to be checked in, right? Not that you were never encountered, because if you were never encountered, you would not have a notice to appear. Because many of the clients I've had doing asylum, that I've been doing asylum for, they actually have what's called notice to appear, which means they had interactions with Border Patrol. And they gave them the piece of paper and they say, okay, go in and, But now this new administration is saying, even if you made it through, we don't care. It doesn't matter what your story is. You're not getting asylum.
So apparently it has become more difficult to get asylum now in the United States.
Well, that's what was put out. In practice, we are still uncertain of what's going to happen because, again, they fired a whole bunch of judges, immigration law judges. They are letting people go left and right. So, you're putting in all these extra things, but you're getting rid of the people who could implement the thing. So whether it's going to happen and how long it's going to take for it to happen, that's a totally different story. All we can talk about is what they have put out, but we have not yet received an advisory. So an actual advisory.
You are in the courtroom every day, Fatmata. What do the judges base their rulings on, the law or the dictates of the president of the republic?
I have no idea right now because I have not been in front of a judge since he's been in office. So, but generally it's supposed to be the law. But there's a directive from the Department of Homeland Security that immigration judges get as to how to look at a particular case. So they also take those into consideration because those are directives.
There is a question here. Everybody asked me to bring it to you. And I'm also opening the phone lines, 240-603-7367. You can choose to remain anonymous, no problem. If you're overseas, you can do 011 before you dial the number on WhatsApp, and it'll get to me here. And I will relay the question. Lawyer Fatmata on the screen will get your question. So if you have a question, again, you don't have to disclose your identity. You can stay anonymous. Dial the number 240-603-7367. Again, I have a question. Everybody ask me to bring it to your attention. We will be right back. You are watching Voices of Africa on Chat Night. Let me have you listen to this minute-long musical interlude.
For you.
You are watching Voices of Africa on Chat Night, and we have 4 programs running on this platform. Voices of Africa, what you are watching now. We have Family Matters, we have Next Generation today, and we have Healthline. If you are a woman, go on YouTube to our channel, go on www.chatnightafrica.net, go on Facebook, 2 places, and please watch the broadcast on breast cancer. Watch the broadcast on breast cancer, and you will thank us later. My name is Divine Chamukong, and I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And my guest on the show taking immigration questions is Barrister at Law Fatmata Barry. I have a question. Everybody asked that I should bring it to her attention. Ladies and gentlemen, join me now in again welcoming our learned Barrister at Law Fatmata Barry. This is the question everybody asked me to ask you. All right, here we go. Our immigrants, resident immigrants in the United States, go back home. I hear nothing is like home. You go back to Sierra Leone frequently, I believe. I go to Cameroon. Lots of people go to visit parents and family members. So, some of us go, we are US citizens, some are green card holders. What should a green card holder especially know before leaving the United States? And here's why this question has become so relevant. Somebody with a green card returning to the United States was arrested by ICE agents on allegations of violating the terms of his residency. Now, you don't have details of the case. I know you're going to tell me that, but what should permanent residents know before they ever take that trip to see parents overseas?
Make sure your green card is valid still. Make sure it's not expired. Make sure when you go, you don't stay longer than you should. Make sure that you are not leaving more than staying in, because then you may be considered to have abandoned your green card. And it's not so much that they will arrest you, it's that they just won't let you in. They'll say you abandoned your green card and your green card has been revoked, so you have to go back to your country. Or if you argue that you want a chance to go to court, then they may just, they may let you in, or they may just detain you, and you go to court because you have a right to a hearing. Every time you're detained, you have a right to a hearing. You have a right to say, I want an attorney and I want a hearing to determine my culpability for whatever the charge may be. You have a right to not just be removed by the mere fact that they've picked you up. Okay? So as a green card holder, make sure that when you're leaving this country to go, you are not leaving more than you are staying. And when you go, don't go stay there a year and then think you can just come back, because you can't. Some people get lucky and, they skip the line somehow and they meet somebody who just sort of let them in. But in this environment, the likelihood of that happening is very, very, very low. So, and right now we're advising people, if your nation is on that new list of 43 countries, 23 of which, or 22, are African countries. If your nation is on that list and you're not here in the US and you're a green card holder, we are advising people to come home before the 21st. We've come back to the US before March 21st. It's not law. We don't know what they're going to do. We are not saying that they will deport you. We're not saying that it will hold you. We are saying precaution, an abundance of care. Make sure you're in the United States on March 21st. While we wait to find out what this list is, what they want to do, how they will treat green card holders, or is it just visa holders? We don't know.
We seem to be in a new world now in the United States.
Yes, very much. Very new world.
And you people are going to have a lot of things to get busy with in your offices.
Yes. And the advice is file for your citizenship. If you're undocumented, stop waiting. If you have a TPS and you have a way to naturalize or you have a way to adjust your status, do it now. The idea that you don't want to file, they have your information with your TPS, my dear. You're already in the system if you have a TPS. File for your green card.
You are coming back from Africa or from some part of the world. You're a green card holder, and you find yourself in front of ICE or the Immigration and Border Control. I think that's what they call them. They are questioning you. Do you plead the fourth? And you know, when I rub shoulders with you lawyers, I start talking like one, pleading the fourth and so on.
Fifth.
Oh, the fifth. Excuse me, the fifth.
Okay.
Okay, I tried. So,
Fifth Amendment.
I tried. What is it? Talk to me. What is it? Pleading
What's the Fifth Amendment?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Basically, you have the right to not speak. So it's basically you invoke your right to not for self-incrimination, as you say. But it's really just I have the right to say nothing, and I don't want to say anything, and I'm invoking that right.
And
everybody has it in this country. It doesn't matter your legal status. Every single person who is in the U.S., regardless of your status, has the right to not speak if they so desire.
So when you plead the fifth, what next? You
Call
are
your
taken in
attorney.
handcuffs into
Call your
jail cell.
attorney.
Okay.
Tell them you want to speak to an attorney. They're not going to pay for an attorney because you're not being criminally charged, which, you know, it's different. You're being handcuffed, you're being detained, but you're not criminally charged, which means you don't have a right to free counsel. But you do have a right to a counsel, but you have to pay for that counsel.
You can, let me say it again, you can pick up your phone, call the number 240-603-7367, and my learned barrister at law, Fatmata Bari, will pick up the call and respond. You don't have to disclose your identity. Next question. President Trump has invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to rapidly deport migrants. Would you please throw light on this? What is that law?
Just basically what it says. It has declared that this people are enemies, and so I can get them out of the country.
His argument seems to be that with the influx, the massive influx of flooding of migrants into the United States, that's an invasion, to quote him, verbatim, the United States is being invaded, and that has the tint of war. So the president seems to be right.
Why do you say that?
He says it's an invasion of the United States.
Do you see an invasion? I'm just saying. Do you see an invasion? Have you seen people up and down the street with, I don't know, muskets and guns and invading the U.S.? Of course not. There's no invasion. In fact, the numbers are lower than they've ever been in the last couple of decades, or whatever it is that the statistics say. The numbers have never been this low in people entering the country in the past, whatever years it is. I don't remember the exact number, but this is one of the lowest times we've ever had of people coming into this country.
Well, and I get your point. That's probably why a federal judge has passed that that whatever he wants to do with the Enemies Act of 1798, pending a hearing. I guess that's what it is.
Yes.
All right. Maybe my final question this evening. what happened to the executive order the president signed related to birthright citizenship?
It's on hold.
Everything is on hold.
Everything is on hold. Okay, here's the thing. Birthright citizenship is the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Birthright citizenship, 14th Amendment, was an amendment to the original Constitution, which kept enslaved Africans and their children from the Constitution as being fully human to have citizenship in this country. The original Constitution did not consider Black people as fully human. So the 14th Amendment was to fix that, was to say that they, as enslaved people and their children, are citizens because they were born in this country. That means anyone who is on this soil and is born here is a U.S. citizen. For that to change, it's not just an executive order. It's not just an edict. It's not just, oh no, it's over. You have to go back and make another constitutional amendment or strike that, or in the alternative, what he's trying to do, have the Supreme Court say it's unconstitutional. But once the Supreme Court says it's unconstitutional, then what? Because this is what gave Black Americans their rights as full-blooded Americans in this country.
Let me take the devil's advocate. I think what drives the president's decision is the fact that people are just abusing it. It just suffices for a woman to be pregnant and crosses the borders and then gives birth to a child in the United States, and that child becomes a citizen. Not that I'm supporting, I'm trying to understand the reason behind this action. If that is it, isn't it an abuse of that constitutional provision?
What's the abuse?
Just get pregnant where you are, cross the borders, even if illegally, okay. and then give birth to a child.
And
the child becomes
No, I mean, seriously. The child is born here, and
I guess the Supreme Court will have to decide that.
No, I mean, we it's the.
I mean, because here's why it sounds. I don't want to say crazy. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. I'm the host of this show. That somebody believes that with his pen, he can simply look at the Constitution of the United States and say, "I don't like this," and it goes away. That's what happens in Africa and somewhere else.
I know, right? And that's what we're trying to have here. Trevor Noah warned everybody back in 2015, but nobody listened. But anyway, the thing is this: the benefits that people think people have, you can't even do anything until, like, that child cannot do anything for anyone until they're 21 years of age. So even let's say people come here to have their kids so that they can get citizenship. 21 years. That child can do nothing for you until they turn the age 21. So if you have a child at 30, so you go what? You just sitting for the next 21 years till you're 51? That's what they want people. Look. Yes, you know what? People do come here to have their children because they want their kids to have an opportunity for a better life. But they're taking literally nothing from this country. They're taking literally nothing from this country. Many people who are here undocumented work and pay taxes. At the end of all the work they've done, they do not receive the benefits of paying those taxes. You and I get our Social Security at the end of all this. They don't get that. So if they've been here for 20 years working and paying taxes, and they got their green card and they live for another 10 years before they retire, they only get the benefit of those last 10 years. all the 20, 30 years of working and paying taxes, they don't get any of that. And I think this is what people need to understand. The GDP of what undocumented immigrants bring into this country is in the billions. Billions. Do you understand?
But the president argues that if you didn't just allow everybody in because they say they have economic problems, they're persecuted, then in his words, you don't have a country anymore. I'm using his words.
Well, he should ask his parents, because he's the first one that was born here.
But your argument isn't that people just come in. I want to make sure I understand you. Okay.
No. What I'm saying is the people who are here, the idea that they're invading, like they're taking over, they're not taking over anything. That's my point.
Okay.
Demonizing them does not make it so. They're not taking anything from anyone. What is going to happen is this, and what has already started happening in some places is this. Your groceries, if you live in the US, are going to get higher because the farms around the country don't have people to pick the things. The Florida oranges, nobody there to pick them up, to pick them. The avocados coming across, not going to happen, which means everything gets higher because demand is higher, but the produce is lower. Why? Because, as some have said, their workers are not showing up. One, because even if you are documented, you may live with somebody who is not documented and you are afraid. So you're not showing up for work. So at the end of the day, the American people, you and I who live here, are the ones who will be hurt. Because why? The job that the many of the undocumented people do, most of us don't do. We've had stories of people. There was a story of a gentleman with a chicken producing company, and he had a whole bunch of undocumented people working in there. When they decided that they were going to raid and deport, people stopped coming to work. He put out to hire Americans, and he had to raise the wage for them to even apply. And he said they were hired, but people can only last more than 3 weeks because it's backbreaking work.
Isn't there a guest worker type visa that people can apply and come to the United States and do this work? Why should they have to walk in, come in illegally?
Ask the system. The same reason why people file their visa applications and 10 years later they're still waiting. The system is warped. It's not made to make it easier for people. And we can say there's a lot to be said about destabilizing people's nations, and then when they leave to come here, you're upset.
And there is a question right now by Cliff Fossang, who is considered undocumented? I could give the answer, but we have a learned barrister right here.
Anyone who does not have a legal status.
All right, Clive, or is it Clive? I think you have your answer.
There are several questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to.
Right. There is your colleague, Barrister Aneneba Akufo. He says, Counsel, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to your community. What a green card holder do to make it possible that they are readmitted without issues at the border? Is that a particular form they can file with the UCIS to preserve their status before leaving the United States? I don't know if I'm making sense here. I'm trying to just read it through.
Yeah, no, there's no form. Just make sure your green card is up to date, it's not expired. Make sure you don't overstay when you leave the country. Like I said before, there's nothing to preserve anything. The preservation is your valid and up-to-date green card, and leaving and coming appropriately.
You are watching Voices of Africa, about to wrap up. But before I get the barrister to articulate her last pieces of information or last word that people can take home in bullet point form, we have this interlude, maybe just to give you time for those who may want to dial in. We have about 2 minutes to run this video, and I will be right back. Chat Night Africa, Africa's voice to the world. Okay, that's from somewhere in Cameroon, from a village called Bali. You are watching Voices of Africa, and my guest today is the CEO of the Bari Law Center, headquartered here in Maryland. My name is Divine Chamukong, and I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. If you're watching this show in high resolution on YouTube, please show some love. Simply hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, let's now bring up our learned lawyer, Fatmata Bari. I want to, it seems somebody is sending me a question. All right, that is, he prefers to remain anonymous. And here's the question. I have a green card. I have a friend who is due green card but had lost his asylum decision. What can he do now? He misplaced the asylum decision from the USCIS.
I don't know what that means. He had an asylum
Yeah, I think
approval.
he's due a green card, if I understand his question. And he says, what can he do now? He misplaced his asylum decision. Apparently, he's waiting for the green card, but he has lost his asylum decision. What does he do?
He's already applied for a green card.
Apparently, I think that should be why he's saying the person is due a green card. I'm trying to make sense out of question.
It's hard. I don't know what that means. If he's due a green card, because he's due a green card could mean that he has the right to apply for a green card, or he's already applied and he's waiting for the green card. It's hard to say. If he's already applied, he's waiting for the green card. Keep the receipt saying that you've applied and keep that with you, because the receipt shows what the approval is for, and it tells you. So keep that with you to keep yourself protected.
Question from Mr. Forsang. Is someone with work authorization considered undocumented?
They're not considered documented. They don't have a status, but it depends on their situation.
And how can you be reached?
My website is www.barrylawcenter.com. My office number is 240-324-8222. You can email at fbarry@barrylawcenter.com.
Or if you contact Divine, Divine will hook you up. This is where we network. Somebody's on the line. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, this is my question. I have a friend who actually came in asylum. He's been here for 1 year, but the decision that granted her asylum, she can't find it. She's been here for 1 year. She's due green card. She wants to apply, but she does not have that decision from USCIS that granted her asylum. She needs that document to apply for a green card. So what can she do right now?
Did you get the question?
So she should.
Now, please do this. Dial the direct number instead of. Are you in the United States?
Yes.
Please dial the direct number instead of WhatsApp, okay? So that your call would be a lot clearer. Thank you.
Okay. So she can probably just make a FOIA request, and that they will send her her records, which would include whatever decisions have been made. She can check online if she has her receipt number. She can check if she went to court. She can check with the court, because asylum could have been through the courts, which is defensive asylum, or not. So if she did it through defensive asylum and she had to go through the court system to do it, she can request it there. She can make a FOIA request from USCIS.
I guess the question has been clearly answered. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to speak to immigrant residents, green card holders, and not citizens, especially concerning, again, in taking into consideration the troubling times we are in now in the United States. You have the platform. Speak to your people.
Okay, so the things that I'm telling people now, one of the most important things I'm telling people, if you have children, you need to talk to your kids. Sometimes we forget and leave the kids. We talk to each other and the adults. Speak to your children. If you have children who understand the situation, make sure they know that there are things they cannot do, that their friends can do, but they cannot get away with it. Like myself, I came here as a child. I didn't always know the seriousness of my situation when I didn't have a green card. And many kids don't. They're probably more aware now. But if your child does not know that they don't have a green card, please tell them, so they don't do something that could get them in trouble. If they walk into a space that says no trespassing and somebody decides to call the police, if they come with this child of yours and another kid, Jimmy, may get a slap on the wrist, but Abdul may not, because once you get start interacting with law enforcement, they may find out that you are not documented, and your little trespassing thing becomes a major thing, and you get detained. So talk to your children. Have a family plan. If you know you're undocumented, have a plan for your family. In other words, ensure that when you go to work, your child goes to school, that the school has information about whoever you're designating to take care of your child, for just in case. Make sure the children know who to go to if they come home and you're not home because you are detained for whatever reason. Make sure that you have documentation, you have people assigned who can access your funds to take care of your children. Make sure that when you leave your house, you have your ID. If all you have is a foreign ID, try to avoid carrying a foreign ID with you, especially if you're undocumented. Have your green card with you at all times. That is just the law. I know we don't always do it, but it is the law. Have a passport. If you can afford it, get a passport card. You have the book, and then you can have a card that you can carry with you like you do your driver's license. Now, in Maryland, some of the things that I've had people say to me is, okay, Maryland, you can have that ID. But right on top of it, it tells you that the person is not documented. Should I really be showing that? And, I can't tell you don't show ID as an attorney. What I can tell you is be careful. If it's something that could hurt you and be harmful to you, think about it. Okay? And if you're in your house and ICE comes looking for you, make sure that they have a judicial warrant, meaning a warrant that is signed by a judge, only a judge, not the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, not the state, not the Secretary of State, not even the President of the United States. Only a judge sign the judicial warrant, and have ICE put it under the door. Make sure it has your name and your address and all your information. And when you decide that you will turn yourself in, walk out the door. Do not let them into your house, because once you do, they have access. If you have anybody else living with you who is also undocumented, they can arrest that person. If you're out in public, you can literally say, I don't want to speak. Especially if they don't know who you are and they're just asking names, you don't have to give them your name. And if they stop asking you questions, you can then ask them, can I leave? If they say yes, you turn around and you leave. You walk, don't run. If they show up at your job, don't run. Do not provide false documentation. Always provide proper documentation. If you don't have any, don't show any. Don't give them information they didn't ask you for. I know it can be scary, but just because they're asking you your information, your name, where you were born, are you a citizen, you don't have to answer any of that. And you can still say, I want an attorney. Make sure you have somebody you can call as a lawyer, or have somebody you can call who can call a lawyer for you, so they'll know where you are. That is, in a nutshell, a little bit of information for you to carry with you and protect yourself and protect your family. And make sure, if you have a path, take it. Don't wait. If your country is in that list, I will say it again, and you don't have your citizenship, please come home or come back to the US. Try not to stay out. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying they're going to stop you. I'm just saying, take precautions. And if you're here, don't leave until after we know what's going to happen with this thing.
Fatmata Barry. So you see what you get when you come to watch Chat Night Africa. This is a networking platform. We bring on good people like this woman to give back to society, because that essentially is what she's doing. Like, we brought the professor of oncology, Professor Edmund Folefek, to talk about breast cancer. Women, if you haven't watched that show, do. I beg you, do watch it. It's for your own good. Thank you so much. Thank you to those who have been watching this online on YouTube and everywhere. I appreciate you. Thank you to those who support this broadcast. It is costly to produce this kind of content on this kind of pristine platform. Thank you guys for dipping your fingers into your wallets to support us. Fatmata, I want to thank you. Each time we come knocking, you open the door. We truly appreciate you. But I know you're going to invite me for Eid. I love the goat meat. Is it ram?
No.
I have the attire. I'm not going to come in tie and suit. I have the attire to come. Don't worry. We'll talk about it.
No, I'll do it later. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And that's how we wrap up this edition of the broadcast. You can check us out at www.chatnetafrica.net. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're everywhere. Stay tuned for yet another scorching broadcast this Friday. You will love what we have scheduled in the coming weeks just for you. And whenever I come and it's time to go, this is what you see. Merci à tout le monde. Thank you so much. I'll see you again.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. Coming to get down. I'm coming. I'm coming. Coming to dance. To dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna party. Party hardy. We're gonna boogie. Boogie woogie. And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready. I'm coming.